There is a silence that happens after a world ends. It's not a loud silence. It's not the quiet of an empty house. It's the silence inside your own heart, where all the love and all the memories you thought were real suddenly stop making a sound. My world ended in a lawyer's office. On a Tuesday, the air smelled of old books and lemon polish. Sunlight was streaming through the large window, falling on a mahogany table. And my daughter-in-law, Clara, the woman I had called my daughter for 10 years, would not look at me. She just stared at the document in front of her. The last will and testament of my husband, Robert. The man who had been her father-in-law for only a decade. The man she had called Dad. I always knew that the reading of a will was a formal thing, but I never thought it could be an execution. I sat there, my hands folded in my lap, waiting for the lawyer's words to make sense of the grief I had been carrying since Robert passed. I was looking for comfort, for a final message from the man I loved for 45 years. I never expected his last words to build a wall between me and the family I thought was mine. Before that room, before that silence, there was so much noise, so much life. It all started when my son, David, brought Clara home for the first time. He was so nervous, his hands fidgeting with the car keys. I remember opening the door and seeing her standing there, a little shy, holding a bouquet of daisies. She didn't have much family of her own. Her parents were gone, and she had moved here alone for work. I saw the loneliness in her eyes, a flicker of it, behind her bright smile. And my mother's heart just opened. Robert and I welcomed her in. It wasn't just David who fell in love with her. We all did. She filled a space in our home we didn't even know was empty. She loved Robert's silly dad jokes. She would sit with me in the kitchen for hours, learning our family recipes. The first time she called me Mom, it was by accident. We were baking a cake for David's birthday. She was stirring the batter and she said, "Mom, could you pass the vanilla?" She stopped. Her cheeks turned pink. "I'm so sorry," she stammered. "I meant Helen." I just smiled and touched her hand. "Mom is perfect," I told her, and I meant it. From that day on, I was Mom to her. And Robert was Dad. We were her family, officially. When their daughter, my granddaughter Lily, was born, the circle felt complete. I was in the delivery room. I was the second person to hold her, after Clara. I remember Clara, exhausted and beautiful, looking at me and saying, "Here's your Grandma, Lily." My heart felt so full, I thought it would burst. We had Sunday dinners every week. Robert would carve the roast. David would tell stories about his work. Clara and I would clean up, talking about everything and nothing. Lily would play on the living room floor. It was loud and messy and perfect. It was everything I had ever wanted my family to be. I thought the bonds we were building were made of steel, forged in love and time and shared history. I never imagined they could be so fragile. I never knew they could be broken by a few lines on a piece of paper. The first crack was so small, I almost missed it. It happened about a year before Robert got sick. We were all at the house for Lily's 8th birthday. The house was filled with the sounds of laughing children. Robert, beaming with pride, pulled me aside. "I've been thinking, Helen," he said, his voice low. "I want to make sure Clara and Lily are always taken care of, no matter what." "Of course, my love," I said, squeezing his hand. "They're our family." "I'm going to update the will," he said. "I'm leaving them the lake house." The lake house. It wasn't just a property. It was our dream home, the place we had saved for, built memories in, and planned to grow old in together. A knot tightened in my stomach. "The lake house?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "Robert, that's our place." "I know," he said, his eyes kind. "But David and Clara, they love it there. Lily adores it. It will stay in the family. It's for our granddaughter's future." I didn't say anything else. What could I say? It sounded so reasonable, so generous. It was for family. But a small, cold voice in my head whispered that he was giving away a piece of our shared dream. I told that voice to be quiet. I told myself I was being selfish. After that, things began to feel different. Not all at once, but slowly. Clara started talking about the lake house more, about renovating the kitchen, about turning the spare room into a studio for her painting. She would say, "When we get the lake house, not if." One afternoon, we were looking at paint samples for their current home. She held up a pale blue. "This would be lovely for the master bedroom at the lake house, don't you think, Mom?" There was something in her tone, a sense of ownership, a certainty. It made me pause. I just nodded and said, "It's a beautiful color, dear." Then Robert got sick. The world shrank to hospital rooms and hushed voices. Clara was a rock. She was there every day, holding his hand, bringing me tea, coordinating with David. In those hard months, my love for her only grew. That small, cold voice was completely silenced by gratitude. She was my daughter. She was helping me save her dad. But near the end, just a few weeks before he passed, Robert was very tired. He was sleeping most of the time. I was sitting by his bed, reading to him. Clara came in to sit with me. She looked at Robert, then at me. Her eyes were full of a strange, determined sadness. "He was so clear about his wishes, Mom," she said softly. "He wanted everything to go smoothly. For the family." I reached for her hand. "I know, sweetheart. We'll get through this. Together." She squeezed my hand, but her gaze was distant. "Yes," she said. "Together." I didn't know it then, but she wasn't talking about us getting through the grief together. She was talking about getting through the reading of the will. The lawyer's office was too warm. I remember feeling the wool of my black dress itchy against my skin. David sat beside me, holding my hand. Clara sat on his other side, perfectly still. She was wearing a sharp, black suit I had never seen before. The lawyer, Mr. Higgins, was a kind man with a soft voice. He offered his condolences. Then he began to read. The first parts were as expected. Robert's personal belongings, his car, his savings account, they all came to me. David was left a trust fund and his father's watch collection. I felt a wave of love for my husband, for his careful planning. Then Mr. Higgins cleared his throat. His eyes flickered toward Clara for a second before returning to the document. "And to my daughter-in-law, Clara," he read, his voice steady, "I bequeath the property known as Elmwood Lake House, along with its surrounding land and all contents therein, to be solely and entirely hers." The words hung in the air. Solely and entirely hers. Not David's. Not ours. Hers. David's hand went stiff in mine. He turned to look at Clara, his face a mask of confusion. "Clara? What does that mean?" Clara didn't look at him. She didn't look at me. She kept her eyes on the lawyer. A faint, serene smile on her face. "It means it's mine, David," she said, her voice calm and clear. "No Mom, no Dad, just facts." "But why?" David whispered, his voice breaking. It was Mr. Higgins who answered. "The document states that Robert wished for Clara to have a tangible asset, independent of her marriage, to secure her and Lily's future." The room started to spin. Independent of her marriage, he had given her an escape route. From us. From me. I found my voice, though it was barely a whisper. "Clara," I said, "did you know?" Finally, she turned to look at me, and the look in her eyes, it was like looking at a stranger. The warmth, the 10 years of shared laughter and tears, were gone, replaced by a cool, detached triumph. "Robert and I had many conversations," she said. "He understood me. He knew I needed security. In that moment, I saw it all. The comments about the lake house, the planning, the closeness to Robert in his final months. It wasn't just daughterly love, it was a strategy. She had seen a kind, dying man, and she had secured her prize. The family I loved, the bonds I cherished, had not been broken by the will. The will had simply revealed that they had never been real in the first place. We left the lawyer's office in a daze. The sunlight outside felt harsh and cruel. David was silent, his face pale with shock and betrayal. Clara walked ahead of us, her phone already to her ear, already making plans. The days that followed were the quietest of my life. The phone didn't ring with Clara's daily check-in. There was no planning for Sunday dinner. The house was just a house again. It was filled with the ghosts of all the noise and love that was gone. David was torn apart. He tried to talk to Clara, to understand, but the woman he came home to was not the woman he married. The mask had come off, and there was no putting it back on. Their marriage, built on the foundation of our family, could not survive the truth. I went to the lake house one last time. I didn't go inside. I just stood at the edge of the property, looking at the water Robert and I had loved so much. I thought about the dreams we had for that place, the grandchildren running on the lawn, the family growing within its walls. And I realized, with a pain that was almost physical, that he had meant it as an act of love. He wanted to provide for the woman he believed was his daughter. He was trying to protect his granddaughter. He was a good man, with a generous heart. And that generosity was taken advantage of in the most personal way. I forgave Robert a long time ago. I had to. His memory is still a warm place in my heart. As for Clara, I don't know if I have forgiven her. The hurt is still too deep. But I have stopped trying to understand. Some things are just broken. My relationship with David and Lily is different now, quieter. We are healing, slowly. We have a new kind of Sunday dinner, just the three of us. The table is smaller, the conversations are softer, but the love is real. It's tested, and it's scarred, but it is real. What I learned, through all this pain, is that family isn't a title in a will. It isn't a name on a deed. It isn't even a name you call someone. Family is the hand that holds yours in a quiet room when there is nothing left to say. It's the love that remains when everything else has been taken away. It's the truth that you see in someone's eyes, even after you've seen the worst. She called me Mom for 10 years, but in the end, the silence she gave me taught me more about being a mother than her words ever did. It taught me that real love doesn't need to be written down to be remembered. It just is. And it is enough. But you know, the strangest thing about silence is that it teaches you to listen, really listen, to the sounds you used to ignore. The ticking of the old clock Robert bought on our first anniversary, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of children playing in the park, a sound that used to make me think of Lily. One evening, about 6 months after the will reading, David and Lily came over. It was a Thursday. There was no special occasion. David brought takeout from the Chinese place we used to go to as a family. Lily, now 9 years old with eyes too wise for her age, carried a small potted plant. "It's for you, Grandma," she said, holding it out. "It's called a peace lily." I thought, well, your name is Lily too, in a way. My heart squeezed in my chest. I took the plant, my hands trembling just a little. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. Thank you." We ate at the kitchen table, the same table where so many Sunday dinners had happened. But this time, there were only 3 plates, 3 glasses, 3 sets of silverware. The space where Clara used to sit was empty. The space where Robert used to sit at the head of the table, that was empty too. But something happened that night, something small. Lily was telling us about a project at school. She was talking about families, about drawing family trees. "The teacher said to include everyone who feels like family," she said, her voice careful. So I put you, Dad, and Mom. She didn't look at me when she said it. She focused on her noodles, pushing them around her plate. David reached over and squeezed her hand. That's your family tree, honey, he said softly. You get to decide who's on it. Later, when David was washing the dishes and Lily was drawing at the table, she looked up at me. Grandma, she asked, do you still love Mom? The question hung in the air between us. David stopped washing dishes. The water was still running. I took a deep breath. How do you explain to a 9-year-old that love isn't a switch you can turn on and off? That it's more like a tree, even when branches break, the roots remain? Love changes shape sometimes, Lily, I said, choosing my words carefully. But it doesn't disappear. Your mom, she's your mom. That will never change. And the years we had as a family, those were real. Those memories don't disappear just because things are different now. Lily nodded, absorbing this. I miss how it used to be, she whispered. Me too, sweetheart, I said. Me too. But here's what I didn't say. I also miss the woman I thought Clara was. The daughter I believed I had. That loss is its own kind of grief. It's not a death, but it feels like one. You mourn the future you thought you'd have, the holidays, the milestones, the ordinary Tuesdays that would have been filled with her presence. David came and sat next to me after Lily went to bed. The house was quiet again, but it was a different quiet than before. It wasn't the silence of an ending. It was the silence of rearranging, of learning how to breathe in a new shape. I'm sorry, Mom, he said, his voice thick, for everything. I took his hand. It was so like Robert's hand, the same shape, the same warmth. You have nothing to be sorry for, David. You loved her. We all did. That's not something to apologize for. But I should have seen, he began. We see what we want to see, I said gently. We see what we hope for. There's no shame in that. That night, after they left, I watered the peace lily Lily had brought me. I placed it on the windowsill in the kitchen, where the morning sun would hit it. I stood there for a long time, looking at it. A new living thing in this house full of old memories. And I realized something. The silence Clara left behind, it wasn't just an empty space. It was a space that could be filled with new things, new rhythms, new ways of being a family. The lake house is still there. Clara lives in it now. Sometimes I drive past it, just to see it from the road. The lights are on in the evenings. She painted the front door a different color. It's blue, the same pale blue she showed me in the paint samples that afternoon. I don't feel anger when I see it. I feel distance. Like looking at a photograph of a place I used to know but can't visit anymore. Robert's memory is still warm in my heart. I talk to him sometimes, in the quiet of the morning. I tell him about David, about Lily, about how we're managing. I like to think he can hear me. I like to think he knows we're finding our way. As for me, I'm learning. I'm learning that family isn't something that happens to you. It's something you build and rebuild. And build again. It's the people who show up on a Thursday with takeout and a potted plant. It's the hand that holds yours when the world has fallen apart. It's the love that remains, not in spite of everything, but woven through everything. The good, the bad, the broken, and the beautiful. She called me Mom for 10 years, and in those 10 years, she taught me about love, about opening your heart, about welcoming someone in. In her silence, she taught me about loss, about grief, about the strength it takes to keep loving anyway. And in the empty spaces she left behind, I'm learning about resilience, about starting over, about how love doesn't have just one shape, one name, one story. It has as many shapes as there are hearts to feel it. And that is more than enough.